And thank you. And I think one of the things that sticks out to me today is actually this is the first AI hearing this Congress in the U.S. House of Representatives, but also this same day the U.S. Senate had their first hearing on AI on this subject matter. They beat us by 4 hours this morning at 10 a.m. But I would now like to recognize myself for 5 minutes for a few questions of our panelists. Thank you, Dr. Schmidt, for painting what I would describe as a very vivid picture of what is happening in this space, because I agree with you. It's been rapid, and in your words, epic. And I'm not sure that the world is ready for what is to come in the next few months, years, et cetera. And so it reminds me of Einstein. He said, "I never think of the future, it comes soon enough." And it's here. And it's moving faster than the speed of light. So my first question for today is for Dr. Schmidt. How can we ensure that AI technology is developed in a way that is safe, transparent, and beneficial for society without stifling innovation?
I'm always worried about AI conversations because everyone believes the AI that we're building is what they see in the Terminator movies. And we're precisely not working on those things. So we're clear. We're not doing it yet, and we're not likely to. Yeah. But what we are doing is working on systems that will affect the way people perceive their world. And I think the best thing for America to do is to follow American values, which include robust competition with government funding of basic research and using the innovators, including the folks to my left, to actually deliver on this. I think that one of the things that's not appreciated in the last 30 or 40 years of tech companies, speaking as a person who was associated with a number of them, is how good they are as American exports of our values. So I come back to a much simpler formulation. Let American ingenuity, American scientists, the American government, and American corporations invent this future, and we'll get something pretty close to what we want. And then you guys can work on the edges where you have misuse. The alternative is think about it if it comes from somewhere else which doesn't have our values, and I really believe that. So everything that you can do, just to finish, to support that innovation cycle, the universities, the graduate students, getting foreigners who are high-skilled in to help us, building those corporations, creating shareholder wealth, hiring lots of people, it's the American formula, and it will work here too.
And then on that note, in terms of the personnel, the resources, training folks in the technology so that it can advance, having that innovation, and a lot of it's on the software side, but how does hardware figure into that? Chips, for example.
So in our AI commission that you all commissioned a while ago, we spent a lot of time on this. We felt it was very important for America to retain its leadership, which of course we didn't have. We gave it to Taiwan. The best result was to basically get the Taiwanese firms, primarily TSMC, and Korean firms, primarily Samsung, to locate plants in the United States, which has occurred. The Trump and Biden administrations have done a good job of restricting some of the sales and access to these tools to the Chinese, but fundamentally this is a race, it's a competition, and we're not that far ahead. So we have to keep innovating, which is why your support for the CHIPS Act was so helpful, and so on behalf of the whole industry, I'll thank all of you for doing that. That's a good example of the government getting ahead of a real problem.
Thank you. And Dr. Madre, my next question for you, do we need to be worried about too much advancement too fast in AI? Are we capable of developing AI that could pose a danger to humanity's existence all over the world? Some of the things that people talk about out of fear in this conversation because of a lack of knowledge, or is that just science fiction?
Well, it really depends on what do we view as this kind of catastrophic risks. So, Terminator-style scenario, I'm not too worried about this, as Dr. Schmidt just said. What I am worried is about something more mundane, but essentially very, very corrosive, right? So we see how this works out in social media, where essentially AI also runs in social media. That's what decides what we see. And we are seeing the effect of that when this is kind of not really transparent, not really aligned with the societal goals. So that's now think about things like, like these new generative models developed essentially in a way just when we just maximize the profit, we just try to get maximum adoption. I'm worried about that. Having said that, I do think we can figure it out how to not stifle the innovation, just modulate it. So we still can progress, but just again, ensure that the companies that we talk to, they are not only driven by profit, but realize they have some responsibilities and they need to acknowledge them.
And I would agree, and I think, you know, we've talked about algorithms for years, like on social media, and you see the divisiveness of politics today, and each side getting the extreme of their side and, you know, getting fed more of that information. I sort of feel like it would be, we're putting it on steroids with the future, immediate future of what the advances in AI might be. What are your concerns there?
Yeah, so essentially, I think saying that this might be like social media on steroids is very much justified. So again, now technology like ChatGPT will be so much more pervasive than social media, and essentially we don't exactly know what will be the effects on our thinking here, or like the way our children learn to think. What, like, do they just fully trust what ChatGPT tells them, or do they learn how to reason? So again, I'm really worried about this, but I think, and that's where the government really needs to step up. We can, you know, with enough of involvement with the government, which I think might not be too much in context of social media, well, here we have to do it differently, and I think then we will do well.
Thank you. I would now like to recognize my esteemed colleague, Mr. Connolly, for questions.
Thank you so much.